let me tell you something powerful right off the bat. The idea of a quantum leap sounds exhilarating, doesn't it? The allure of transcending your current state and catapulting into a reality that's vastly better, richer, and more aligned with your deepest desires. But what if I told you that the dark truth about quantum leaps isn't what you think? What if I told you that the real journey of a chosen one, the one who is destined for these kinds of leaps, is not all about instant success or sudden moments of glory? No, it's more about facing the depths of yourself that you've been avoiding, about embracing the chaos, the uncertainty, and the pain that comes with such a profound transformation. You see, quantum leaps aren't easy. They aren't glamorous. The 99% of people who dream about them don't understand the cost. But the 1%, the chosen ones, they know. They know because they've experienced the sleepless nights, the deep emotional processing, the sense of isolation that comes before the breakthrough. The reality is, before a quantum leap, your life often feels like it's falling apart. Things stop making sense. The structures, the routines, and even the relationships you've built might begin to crumble, and it's terrifying.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Ask yourself this: what are you willing to lose in order to gain everything you've ever wanted? Because that's the first question the universe asks of the chosen ones. It tests you by stripping away everything that's not aligned with your higher purpose, everything that's holding you back from that leap. And that process, it's brutal. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Why does the universe test us like this? Why does it seem like before any major breakthrough we must endure this period of darkness, of uncertainty, of loss? The answer lies in the very nature of transformation. Quantum leaps, by their very definition, require an energetic shift so profound that it disrupts the very fabric of your current reality. You can't step into a new reality while clinging to the old one. You can't become the person you're meant to be while holding on to the outdated version of yourself or the outdated beliefs, the outdated habits. So, what happens? The universe forces a breakdown. It's the dark night of the soul. It's the moment when everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your life, about your path, begins to unravel. For most people, this is where they stop. This is where they turn back, because it's too painful, too chaotic. But for the chosen ones, this is where the real work begins. This is where they step into the fire, knowing that on the other side of that fire is the leap they've been waiting for. Let's talk about the chaos. When you're on the verge of a quantum leap, your life might feel like it's spinning out of control. You might lose your job, your relationships might fall apart, or you might experience a deep sense of confusion about your purpose. This is not a sign that you're failing. This is a sign that the leap is near. The universe is preparing you, pushing you to let go of the things that are no longer serving you. But here's the catch. Most of the time, we don't willingly let go of these things. We cling to the familiar, to the comfortable, even when we know it's holding us back. And that's why the process can feel so chaotic, because the universe is doing for you what you refuse to do for yourself. So, let me ask you this. What are you holding on to that's preventing your leap? What beliefs, relationships, habits, or fears are keeping you stuck in your current reality? Because if you're serious about making this leap, if you're truly one of the chosen ones, you need to be willing to let those things go. And not just on a surface level, but on a deep soul level. You need to be willing to release everything that's not aligned with the person you're becoming. And here's where it gets even deeper. The chosen ones don't just experience loss in the physical sense, they experience it on an energetic level. Quantum leaps require an energetic upgrade, and that means you have to shed the old energy you've been carrying around. This is why the process can feel so draining, so exhausting. You might find yourself feeling more tired than usual, more emotional, more sensitive to the energies around you. This is because your body, your mind, and your soul are all undergoing a profound transformation. But here's the dark truth that most people don't talk about. Not everyone is meant to make the leap. Not everyone is ready, and that's okay. But if you're here, if you're listening to this, then there's a reason. There's a reason you're drawn to this message, a reason you're feeling the pull to step into something greater. You are one of the chosen ones, and that means you have to be willing to face the darkness before you can step into the light. So, how do you navigate this process? How do you move through the chaos, the uncertainty, the breakdowns without losing yourself in the process? The first step is to trust the process. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth. You have to trust that everything happening right now, no matter how painful, no matter how confusing, is happening for a reason. It's all part of the preparation for the leap. The universe is clearing out the old to make space for the new. You might not see it now, but in time, you'll look back and realize that every challenge, every setback was perfectly orchestrated to get you to where you need to be. The second step is to surrender. This is perhaps the hardest part because as humans, we want to control everything. We want to know how things are going to unfold and when and why. But quantum leaps don't work like that. You can't control the process. You can't force it to happen on your timeline. You have to surrender to the flow of the universe, trusting that it's guiding you exactly where you need to go. And finally, you need to be willing to let go of your old identity. This is perhaps the most challenging part, because for most of us, our identity is tied to our ego. It's tied to the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve. But in order to make a quantum leap, you need to be willing to let go of those stories. you need to be willing to reinvent yourself, to step into a new version of yourself that's aligned with the life you're trying to create. So, let me ask you one more time. Are you ready? Are you ready to face the dark truth about quantum leaps? Are you ready to let go of everything that's holding you back? To face the chaos, the uncertainty, and the breakdowns in order to step into the life you were destined for? Because if you are, then the leap is waiting for you. So we've started to peel back the layers of the dark truth behind quantum leaps. You're beginning to understand that the leap isn't just about instant success, but rather a complete breakdown of the old structures in your life. But here's a question that you may not have asked yourself yet. What happens to your energy during this shift? Because the truth is, this isn't just a physical or emotional process, it's an energetic one, and navigating it requires a level of awareness that most people simply don't have. Let's talk about energetic shedding, because this is where the real work begins. When you're about to make a quantum leap, your energy starts to vibrate at a higher frequency. And as you begin to vibrate at this new level, anything in your life that doesn't match this frequency gets shaken loose. This is why you might notice things falling apart, relationships, jobs, habits, even your sense of self. It's all energy. Everything you experience in life is a reflection of your internal energy. And when your energy shifts, your external world has no choice but to reflect that change. Aha, but here's the kicker. Most people resist this process. They feel the shift happening, they see things starting to fall apart, and instead of allowing it, they fight it. They try to hold on to the old, to keep things as they are, because that's what feels safe. But here's the cold, hard truth. You cannot hold on to the old and expect to leap into the new. The energy that got you to where you are isn't the energy that will take you to where you want to go. And this is where the chosen ones face their greatest challenge: letting go. Let me ask you something. What are you afraid of losing right now? Is it a relationship, a job, your sense of identity? Because whatever it is, that's exactly what the universe is asking you to release. And I get it. It's terrifying. The ego clings to the familiar, even when it knows it's no longer serving you. But the quantum leap requires you to trust that what's meant for you is on the other side of that fear. You have to be willing to lose everything if you want to gain everything. There's a reason why only 1% of people ever make this leap. It's because most people aren't willing to go through the energetic shedding that's required. They want to hold on to their old life while stepping into a new one. But it doesn't work that way. Energy is all or nothing. You either fully step into the new frequency or you stay stuck in the old one. There's no in between. So how do you navigate this energetic shift without losing yourself in the process? First, you need to become hyper-aware of your energetic environment. This means paying close attention to the people, places, and things you allow into your space. Because here's the thing, when you're in the middle of a quantum leap, your energy is highly sensitive. You're in a state of transition, and this makes you more susceptible to the energy around you. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are operating from fear, doubt, or negativity, that energy will drag you down. It will anchor you to your old frequency and prevent you from making the leap. Think about the people in your life right now. Are they lifting you up, or are they holding you back? Are they aligned with the version of yourself that you're becoming, or are they tied to the version of you that you're trying to leave behind? This is one of the hardest parts of the leap, realizing that not everyone can come with you. Some relationships, no matter how meaningful they once were, are only meant to last for a certain phase of your journey. And when that phase is over, you have to be willing to let them go. Now, I'm not saying you need to cut people out of your life completely, but you do need to protect your energy during this time. You need to be mindful of who and what you allow into your space. If someone's energy isn't aligned with your leap, then you need to create some distance. This doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It just means you stop caring about them. It just means you can't make a quantum leap while carrying other people's baggage. Next, let's talk about energetic boundaries. During this time, you might notice that people start to project their fears and doubts onto you. They'll tell you that you're making a mistake, that you're being unrealistic, that you're heading for failure. This is because your leap triggers their own insecurities. It forces them to confront the fact that they're not making the leap themselves, and instead of facing that truth, they project their fears onto you. But here's the thing, their fears are not yours to carry. You need to set clear energetic boundaries and refuse to take on other people's limiting beliefs. This doesn't mean you argue with them or try to convince them otherwise. It simply means you don't engage with their fear. You don't let it into your energy field. You hold your frequency high and you trust that your leap is yours and yours alone. Ask yourself this: whose fear am I carrying right now? Because chances are, if you're feeling stuck or uncertain about your leap, it's not your own fear that's holding you back, it's someone else's. It's the moment you release that, the moment you set those boundaries, you free yourself to make the leap. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, you need to trust your own energy. When you're in the middle of a quantum leap, your intuition becomes your greatest guide. You'll start to feel things shifting internally before they show up externally. You'll feel a pull towards certain actions, certain people, certain opportunities. But here's where most people get tripped up. They second-guess themselves. They don't trust the subtle nudges of their intuition. and instead they wait for external validation. But the quantum leap doesn't work like that. The leap happens internally before it manifests externally. You have to trust your energy, trust your intuition, and take action based on what feels aligned, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. The external world will catch up to your internal shift, but only if you trust yourself enough to make the move before you see the evidence. So, let me ask you, do you trust yourself? Do you trust your intuition enough to leap without knowing how it's all going to unfold? Because that's the real test. The chosen ones know that the leap isn't about certainty. It's about trust. It's about trusting that the universe has your back, that your energy knows the way, and that by aligning with your highest frequency, the external world will fall into place. Let's dive deeper into the emotional and psychological turmoil the chosen ones face during a quantum leap, because while the energetic shift we've discussed are profound, they trigger something even deeper, an internal battle that challenges every part of who you think you are. It's not just about shedding old habits or relationships. It's about confronting the core of your being, the stories you've carried, the fears you've suppressed, and the beliefs you've built your entire identity upon. The truth is, a quantum leap isn't just a journey of external transformation. It's an inner revolution. And this revolution is often messy, chaotic, and painful. You're not just shifting your energy, you're shifting your entire psychological framework. And that means everything you've believed about yourself and the world is going to be tested. Here's something you may not have fully understood yet. The biggest enemy you face during a quantum leap is yourself. It's not the external circumstances. It's not the people who doubt you. It's not even the challenges that arise along the way. It's the internal resistance that shows up when you're on the verge of breaking through. This resistance is your ego's way of trying to protect you, to keep you safe in the familiar, even when the familiar is no longer serving you. Let me ask you this. What stories are you telling yourself right now that are keeping you small? Because that's where the real battle lies. The ego thrives on stories. Stories about who you are, what you're capable of, and what's possible for your life. And as you start to make this leap, as you begin to step into a higher version of yourself, these stories start to feel threatened. You'll hear the voice in your head say things like, "Who do you think you are to go after this dream?" Or, "What if you fail? What if you lose everything?" This voice is loud and it's convincing. But here's what you need to understand. That voice is not you. It's the voice of your conditioning. It's the voice of your past, of your fears, of everything you've been taught to believe about yourself. And it's the one thing standing between you and the leap you're meant to make. So, how do you quiet that voice? How do you move through the emotional and psychological turmoil without letting it stop you in your tracks? The first thing you need to do is acknowledge the fear. Most people try to suppress it, to push it away, to act like it doesn't exist. But suppression only makes the fear stronger. The more you resist it, the more power it has over you. Instead, you need to face it head on. You need to acknowledge that the fear is there, and you need to understand why it's showing up. Fear always has a purpose. It's there to protect you. It's there because your ego believes that stepping into the unknown is dangerous. It believes that if you take this leap, you'll lose everything you've built. But here's the paradox. The only way to truly lose yourself is to stay where you are. By remaining in the familiar, by clinging to the old stories, you deny yourself the opportunity to grow, to evolve, to become the person you're truly meant to be. So, when the fear arises, instead of running from it, ask yourself, what is this fear trying to teach me? What part of me feels threatened by this leap? What story am I holding on to that no longer serves me? By asking these questions, you bring the fear into the light. You take away its power, because fear can only control you when it's hidden in the shadows of your mind. The second step is to rewrite the narrative. Once you've identified the stories that are keeping you small, you need to consciously choose new ones. This is where the real work of a chosen one comes in. It's not enough to simply let go of the old stories. You need to replace them with stories that are aligned with the version of yourself you're becoming. So, let's get practical. What story do you want to tell about yourself? Who is the version of you that has already made the leap? What do they believe? How do they think? How do they handle challenges? You need to start embodying that version of yourself right now, even before the external world reflects it back to you. Because here's the truth. Your reality will always mirror your beliefs. If you believe you're not worthy of the leap, if you believe you're going to fail, then that's exactly what will happen. But if you believe that you're capable, that the universe is supporting you, that everything is unfolding in your favor, then you will create a reality that reflects those beliefs. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about deep inner alignment. It's about shifting your internal dialogue to match the frequency of the life you're stepping into. And this takes practice. It takes conscious effort. But every time you catch yourself falling into old patterns of fear or doubt, you have the opportunity to choose a new story. And with every new story, you align yourself more closely with the leap. The third step is to embrace the uncertainty. This is perhaps the hardest part of the quantum leap, because as humans we crave certainty. We want to know how things are going to unfold, when they're going to happen, and what the outcome will be. But the quantum leap requires you to step into the unknown with full trust. It requires you to take action without knowing how things will turn out. and that's terrifying. But here's the truth. The magic happens in the unknown. The leap doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when you step off the edge, even when you can't see the ground below you. So, let me ask you, are you willing to embrace the uncertainty? Are you willing to take the leap, even when you don't have all the answers? Because that's the real test of a chosen one. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about trusting that the universe will catch you when you jump. It's about knowing that the leap itself is the reward, because it's in the leap that you discover who you truly are. You've made the leap. You've faced the fear, navigated the chaos, and released the old stories that were holding you back. Now what? What happens after the quantum leap? Well, this is where the spiritual integration comes in. And it's just as important, if not more so, than the leap itself. Here's the thing, a quantum leap isn't just a one-time event. It's a new way of being. And once you've made the leap, the real work begins. You need to learn how to embody this new version of yourself, how to live in alignment with the higher frequency you've stepped into. Because it's all too easy to slip back into old patterns. It's all too easy to get pulled back into the lower vibrations of fear, doubt, and scarcity, especially when the external world hasn't fully caught up to your internal shift yet. Let me ask you something. How do you maintain the energy of your leap once you've made it? Because the truth is, the leap alone isn't enough. It's what you do after the leap that determines whether you stay in this new reality or fall back into your old one. And this is where many people falter. They think the leap itself is the finish line, but in reality, it's just the beginning. So, how do you integrate this new energy into your life in a sustainable way? How do you live in alignment with your leap, day in and day out, without falling back into old habits or mindsets? The first step is to ground yourself in your new identity. You stepped into a higher version of yourself, but that version needs to be anchored in your day-to-day reality. This means making conscious choices that align with your new frequency. It's not enough to simply have made the leap. You need to embody the energy of that leap in everything you do. Ask yourself, what does the highest version of me look like in action? How does this version of you approach life, relationships, challenges, and opportunities? You need to start living as this version of yourself, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. Because here's the truth, your old identity will try to pull you back. It will try to convince you that the leap was a fluke, that you should go back to the way things were. But you can't afford to let that happen. You need to be intentional about the choices you make, the thoughts you entertain, and the actions you take. This process of grounding yourself in your new identity requires a high level of self-awareness. You need to be constantly tuning into your energy, paying attention to how you're showing up in the world. When you catch yourself slipping into old patterns, don't beat yourself up. Awareness is the key to change. Simply recognize it and then consciously choose to realign with the version of yourself that you're becoming. The second step is to create an environment that supports your new frequency. Remember when we talked about the importance of protecting your energy during the leap? Well, that doesn't stop once you've made the leap. If anything, it becomes even more important. The people, places, and things you surround yourself with have a profound impact on your vibration. And if your environment isn't aligned with your new frequency, you'll struggle to maintain the energy of your leap. Ask yourself, is my environment supporting the version of me that I've stepped into? Are the people in your life encouraging your growth, or are they pulling you back into old patterns? Are the spaces you spend time in conducive to your new vibration, or are they filled with old energy that no longer resonates with who you are? You need to be intentional about curating an environment that lifts you up, that keeps you aligned with the energy of your leap. This might mean making some difficult choices. It might mean creating distance from certain people or situations that no longer serve your highest good. But remember, your energy is your responsibility. No one else can protect it for you. And if you're serious about staying in alignment with your leap, you need to be willing to make the necessary changes in your environment.